All right, so what we ended up doing today is we are stepping into the world of second quarter. And so this is kind of what we ended up doing. We're going to practice finding the central idea because that is part of second quarter's thing. And then we're also going to discuss the importance of text features, which we also kind of go over what text features are. And we find some examples. Okay, so that's what this quarter is going to be about. Central idea, text features, and then we're also going to work on some summary. Okay. But for today, we practiced how to find the central idea, and we used our sandbox and went to the different types of mentor texts that we have there. So I'm going to show you that really quickly. We did 3 different mentor texts today, and we found the central idea. And so the first one that we ended up doing is the vampires, of the deep. And so if in your notebooks, you have this, and then underneath you have the Ptah. Then you also have the cause-effect problem solution. So these things could end up helping you. For the central idea, a lot of it is with this topic. Okay, the topic will help you. So using Ptah to help you to get started with the central idea is really important. So anyway, we have a certain kind of to organize your thinking for this. And in our notebook, our resource notebook on page 44, we ended up writing how to find the central idea. So on page 44, we ended up writing this. So you're going to need to write this down on page 44 in your resource notebook. If you have your notebook with you, if you have your notebook with you, you can go ahead and write that down in there. But essentially, the format or the way to organize it would be the title of the piece discusses who did what, where, and or when. Okay, so that's kind of like the outline that we will use to make sure we're getting the central idea of the whole piece. So anyways, we ended up trying to find the central idea for vampires in the deep, or of the deep. And so if you need to reread that, that's fine. The majority of the kids didn't have to reread. They kind of understood what it was about, especially since we had this right here. So Vampires of the Deep, and we kind of went through what we said about it last time. Okay, so then we ended up filling out the central idea for Vampires of the Deep, which is this right here. And this is something you'll need to write down as well on page 44. Again, if you don't have page 44, you don't have your resource notebook, put this on a separate sheet of paper. And then when you get back to school, you will tape it to page 44 in your resource notebook. Okay. So anyways, so then we said Vampires of the Deep. So again, I kind of color coded it. So that's the title. Discusses who, sea lampreys, where are destroying the ecosystems, are destroying the ecosystem by killing fish in, this is where, the Great Lakes. Now, you're going to notice the blue part here, where and or when. So I don't have to have both. I could have both, but I don't have to. I do need to have at least one of them, though. Okay? So Vampires of the Deep discusses how sea lampreys are destroying the ecosystem by killing fish in the Great Lakes. That's the central idea. It's very quick and to the point. So that's what we ended up doing for that one. So again, I'm following this outline to help me create the central idea, which is a 1-sentence central idea, including who, what, where, and or when. Okay, so the next one that we ended up doing is Toilet on the Moon. So we also did the same thing. Underneath here, we already have Ptah. We also have problem solution underneath it. So this may end up helping you, or it may not. So again, we did this one together as a class as well. I got some information from them, but this is what we ended up coming up with. A Toilet on the Moon discusses how NASA is trying to create a toilet that works on the moon and in outer space. Okay, so again, I have this color-coded. It goes along with, I have the title, I have who it is, which is NASA, I have what they're talking about, and where it's taking place. Now, on both of these, I don't say when. I could say when. It doesn't necessarily have to be in there, but if you wanted it in there, you could put it in there. Okay, so these things you need to make sure that you are writing down on page 44. Again, if you don't have page 44, write them down on a separate sheet of paper. And then when you get back to school, you will tape it into your resource notebook. All right, so the last thing that we ended up doing with this particular thing is the class had to do another one by themselves. So I'm going to ask for you to do the other one by yourself and see how well you can do with it. So you have this to help you, the outline. You have two that are some examples that could also help you. And then the last one that you are going to do by yourself on the same sheet of paper is with this mentor text. Her designs are helping the planet. So this is the things that we ended up putting down for it. Again, if you need to pause the video at any time, you can. This is what we kind of talked about. And then if you need to see this piece because you don't have your resource notebook with you, you can go back to the reading writing course and go to mentor text. And you're going to find the one that says her designs are helping the planet. You can click on that and you can read it from there. But again, what you're going to do is you are going to follow the same outline and you are going to start it off exactly the same. I'm going to do this because I already have it written. So I'm going to go really slowly over here. So here you go. Her designs are helping the planet discusses. And then you're going to finish that. You're going to use discusses who, did what, where, and or when. And so you're going to finish that sentence. It should be one sentence, just like these other two. Okay? So you're going to finish this one on that same sheet of paper that you are writing on. And then when you get done with this, you need to make sure to bring it back to school with you so you can put it on page 44 in your resource. But before you do that, you're going to take a picture of this and you're going to send it to me so I see that you have done this at school or at home. And so then that way you are all caught up. And if you don't take a picture and I don't see it, it's going to be put in as missing. So you're going to want to make sure to take a picture of it and send it to me. And that way you'll be good to go. Okay? All right. So that's your job, is to finish that one. All right. I'm going to go ahead and move on. So if you need to pause and go ahead and do this, do that. Otherwise, I'm going to move on to the last thing that we ended up doing. Okay. So the next thing that we ended up doing in class besides reading is we talked about text features and how text features actually help authors to talk about the central idea and get us back to that central idea. So in your resource notebook, if you have it, great. If not, you can just look on your screen here. On page 56 and page 57, which I'll show you in a second, these are all the different types of nonfiction text features that you are going to find. And the reason why authors use them is to help us comprehend what is happening in the text. And it takes us back to that main central idea of the text. Okay, so we have photograph, we have illustration, we have caption. Caption goes along with photographs and illustration to kind of explain what's happening in those two things. Labels, graph, table, title, title page, table of contents, index, glossary, heading. Okay, and the last one's on page 57. We have map, diagram, bold print, italics, bullet points, fact bar, and sidebar. Okay, so what I ended up doing in class is I had kids, we kind of talked about them a little bit, about what each individual one is and that kind of stuff. But what I had them do is they had to go back into different mentor texts and they had to basically point out what they saw. So for example, if I was on this one, I could circle this and I would say that's a title. Or I would circle this and say that's a photograph. And they had to find 5 of them. Down here, this is a heading. So I just want you to be aware of that as you guys are reading different mentor texts and just anything that ends up happening. But this right here, again, this tells you there's a title, there's a heading, there's photographs, there's a map, there's a caption. There's bold print in this one, like right here is bold print. So just noticing those things, because again, the authors do those for a reason. Okay, so they make it go back to that central idea. Okay. Other than that, I think you're good. Just make sure that you end up reading for that 20 minutes. And then after you're done reading and you've done all the things that I've said in this video, you need to make sure that you send me an email of the 2-sentence summary of what you read today. And then you also need to send me a picture of your page that you ended up doing on page 44 or on a separate sheet of paper with your last one that you did by yourself. Okay? All right, that's all I got for you. Thanks.